Mount Shishapangma looms over the Tibetan plateau at an elevation of 26,296 feet. Although it just manages to make the list of the world's 8,000-meter peaks, the summit still pierces the infamous death zone, and dangers such as unpredictable weather and high-altitude sickness remain constant threats. Shishapangma's allure lies in its accessibility and mostly non-technical terrain. The numbers of climbers that visit Shishapangma pales in comparison to other well-known mountains, such as Everest and K2. Despite this, the mountain has proven to be a formidable peak, and some of the best have lost their lives on this sacred mountain. A goal that has eluded the American climbing elite is a first ski descent from the summit of an 8,000-meter peak. This group of 3 Americans planned their expedition unaware that such a void existed in U.S. climbing annals. They have come to Shishapangma in hopes of summiting their first 8,000-meter peak and carrying their skis with them, not because they seek the elusive first descent, but because it would be a culmination of their 2 true passions, climbing mountains and skiing down them.
I think that the natural progression for us as a group was ultimately to climb an 8,000-meter peak.
The Americans will share their ambitious goal with a trio of Kazakhs they befriended. Although a language barrier exists, they all share a common drive and determination. The fall of communism left newly independent states such as Kazakhstan without budgets for once government-sponsored climbers. Were it not for the fundraising efforts of their former Cold War adversaries, the Kazakhs might never have had such an opportunity of fulfilling their own dreams of climbing one of the world's highest mountains. The Americans hail from Aspen, Colorado. This old mining town turned premier ski mecca is nestled in the Rockies at an elevation just shy of 8,000 feet. Growing up here, they were able to hone their skiing and mountaineering skills. The surrounding Elk Mountain Range, with its 14,000-foot peaks, served as their playground. Steve Marolt and his brother Mike still call it home and make their livelihood here, not as professional sponsored climbers, but as working class boys in a town of the super rich. The Marolts are both CPAs.
We're not superstar climbers. We don't aspire to be famous. And there's only one reason that we climb. We were born in the mountains and raised in the mountains, and we love the mountains. We love to ski.
The unique aspect of this team is that Steve and Mike are not only brothers, but are also twins, and twins that share an equal passion for climbing and skiing.
There's a whole aspect of being a twin, and being a twin, I've had an interest in looking into it, the whole intuition thing. There's a unspoken word. I mean, I know exactly what he's thinking. I know when he's at his threshold. I know when he's feeling good, and vice versa. From a very young age, we did everything together. We played baseball together. We ski raced together. We ice climbed together. We climbed the big mountains together. I've never gone to a big mountain without Steve.
Last year, the twins traveled to the Pamir Range of Kazakhstan to climb Peak Lenin.
On that trip, we met some really good friends. And when we left, we decided that we were going to raise the money and bring as many of these people with us to Shishapangma as we could, to provide them the opportunity that they probably wouldn't have otherwise because of the economic circumstances in their country.
Mike and Steve tell me about future project, climb to Shishapangma. I think I tell him, no problem, we ready every time. But I don't believe.
The two teams are reunited in Kathmandu, Nepal. Although it has been nearly a year since they have seen each other, they quickly fortify old bonds with mutual anticipation and excitement.
With everyone together, it was just great. We felt like a team and we were ready to go.
Unlike many expeditions to the Himalayas, Shishapangma's base camp is accessible by vehicle. This convenience can be problematic due to rapid elevation gain and travel on hazardous roads where danger lurks around every turn. The drive in can often be more deadly than the climb itself.
Why don't we tow this guy away and let everybody go?
Take this cup a little more.
I reckon we'll be here for a while.
It would be neat if you had this mountain in Colorado and you didn't have to go through all the third world nonsense, all the dysentery and all the terrible traveling logistics and all that stuff to get to it. I mean, I'm a climber. I mean, it's fun and it's interesting, but after you do it 10 times, it gets a little old.
We've been stuck for about 2 hours in a traffic jam and can't figure out why the traffic isn't moving a little quicker than it should, and all of a sudden it's moving, and as soon as it starts moving, our driver's nowhere to be found, so we hired Vadim to just take over.
At the Chinese border, the team trades in their bus for four-wheel drives. They continue on through the province of Tibet in hopes of reaching the mountains safely and without encountering any further hazards.
As luck would have it, we ran into another accident, and what we learned is that when something like this happens, everybody just kind of stands around waiting for the novelty of the situation to wear off, and if you don't just jump in there and start pushing and shoving, you could really wait a long time.
Tibet is a land, like many in today's world, that struggles to maintain a balance between the encroachment of the 21st century and holding on to its rich traditions and deep spiritual culture. The Tibetan people have opened their borders to the West only since 1980. This once isolated nation is now a gateway through which climbers and explorers pass as they head off in search of fulfilling their destinies in the Himalayas. As the expedition reaches base camp, they get their first views of the snowy peak. Among the world's highest peaks, Shishapangma stands alone, entirely in Tibet. Its name translates to above the grassy plain. Anxious to get out from behind the wheel, the members will face future uncertainties on their own terms.
It's hard to find people that want to put themselves through this kind of pain and suffering, because it is pain and suffering. You know, you're not generally eating very good food. You're generally always sick with something. It's hard work. You get up every day in the cold air. It's not fun being at altitude. It hurts. But we get a lot of satisfaction out of each other. And Mike, Jimmy, and I have been very fortunate, because there are a lot of people out there saying that they want to do this, and the only thing that prevents them from doing it It's finding other people that want to do it.
You guys want to get going, I'm going to hang back here and make sure all the loads get on the act.
Okay.
See you in a couple hours.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Yeah.
Have a nice hike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, keep your radio on.
Radio's on.
Okay.
All right, man. Okay. Later, dude.
Have a good one.
See ya.
The team will now exchange their modern modes of transportation for more natural means. Yaks. These beasts of burden have been used by the Tibetan people for centuries and will aid the expedition in hauling the necessary gear and supplies to advanced base camp. The trek to advanced base camp is 15 miles and an altitude gain of 2,000 feet. The group will make the trip in about 6 hours. This rock field will serve as their home for the next month. What the team hopes to get out of their skis is not only a descent, but an efficient means to ascend the mountain as well.
The main goal of this expedition is to get an 8,000 meter peak summit under our belt. Skiing from 8,000 meters is definitely a long shot. On a route like Shishapangma, however, skis may very well serve a purpose in making the climb a lot more doable.
The climbers are driven by pure heart and determination.
It's been a dream of mine since probably 8th grade to climb an 8,000 meter peak. Right now I don't have any hopes or aspirations to stand on top of Everest or anything like that. It's more to get to 8,000 meters and just see if my body can handle it.
While acclimatizing, the team members meticulously prepare their gear. The route follows moderate glacial terrain to an elevation of 22,000 feet. From here to the summit, it becomes technical, ascending a steep snow face. The remainder of the climb follows a ridge of mixed snow, rock, and ice.
This team is one of the most prepared teams I've ever climbed with. I know that the Kazakhs have been training very hard and doing a lot of climbs. As far as Steve, Jimmy, and I, we have spent the entire winter concentrating on training and climbing as much as we possibly can, and so we're very, very prepared.
In Kazakhstan, I'm training all winter. 5 days per week, 3 days in the mountain, 2 days in the city. I'm climbing in the mountains. I climb in the mountains 4,000 meters up and down, up and down.
Along with the physical preparation, you have to have the mental preparation. Mentally, it's very, very difficult.
The expedition members will establish a depot or pilot camp across the moraine at the base of the snow line, from where they can strap on their skis and begin their forays up the mountain.
Let's get this single wall tent going here, and we can just leave it right here on the snow, and we can just use it as a depot, and our stuff will be out of the elements.
Although 5 miles away, the depot is equal in altitude as advanced base camp, but is inaccessible by yak. The climbing will be based out of this camp, while rest days will be spent back in ABC.
Okay, good. Go.
High altitudes can affect the most able-bodied climber, regardless of conditioning or training. The team returns to advanced base camp to rest and are quickly reminded of its dangers. A Taiwanese climber is discovered to be suffering from the extreme latter stages of high altitude sickness. The team finds themselves immersed in a rescue operation. The Americans prepare their Gammo bag, a portable pressure chamber that can lower the altitude of a climber by 3,000 feet instantly.
Keep pumping. 6.
Monitoring the situation is a Dutch doctor from a neighboring expedition.
In the 8,000 meter arena, altitude is the main enemy. Altitude can just sneak up on you and it can just slam you. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how experienced you are, and you just never know how it's gonna hit you personally.
I got a pulse. Like this. High.
Hi. Hi.
Straight and high. Straight and high.
Since the climber was not taken down to a lower altitude sooner, his condition remains highly volatile.
Parse 55. Parse 85.
Feel it, Doc?
The Taiwanese teammates are at a loss. The climbers exhaust all options in reviving the man.
Sorry.
Although the team did not know the climber, they are all still affected by his death. A somber mood settles over the camp. Although the two groups have complete confidence in one another's abilities, they have not trained together. Their climbing styles are different as well. The Americans are using skis for their forays up and down the mountain, while the Kazakhs climb in a more traditional manner on foot. The Kazakhs have spent their lives climbing the 6,000 and 7,000 meter peaks of the Pamir Range. Their experience in the mountains is invaluable to the expedition.
Weather not good. I think tomorrow, see, too much snow, little snow, danger, no danger, about avalanche. Мы прорвемся.
Weather is the main factor in success rates in the mountains.
High altitude and its debilitating effects are another factor that concerns the team members. Vadim, the eldest of the group, was the first to show signs of weakening as a chest virus quickly overtook him.
Home, sweet home.
With each new day, the expedition members find themselves once again blessed with good weather. Those feeling strong would continue to push up the mountain.
Max is very strong in the mountains, always up, always ready to go, always willing to carry extra weight. Andrey is unbelievably strong. On Peak Lenin, he was carrying 70, 80 pound packs every day.
Jim comes from a very similar background as us. We all grew up together, and we're all at approximately the same level because our climbing has advanced together. We've spent the last decade climbing together, and when you're climbing these big mountains, you have to be at the same level as the people you're climbing with. If you're not at the same level, and I'm talking mentally and physically, the gap under extreme conditions is just, it can become huge.
Steve, Jim, and I make it a point to always travel roped while we're on a glacier. It's just a commitment to doing it safely. A lot of people don't do that, but in our experience, it's proved to hold us on top of the snow on more than a few occasions. And on a route like Shishapangma, more than a few people have fallen into crevasses to their deaths. So we make it a point to travel roped.
After establishing Camp 1, the Americans reward themselves by making their first powder turns in the Himalayas at 21,000 feet.
Skiing is my first love. I love skiing. I come from a family of ski racers, and so I love the skiing aspect of the mountain lifestyle. But I think when you venture into the big mountains, skiing is a bonus, and you have to have the fundamental mountaineering skills in order to have success in any of the larger mountains.
That is tough. Good day though. First time to altitude. How are you, Vadim? Personal best.
Normal.
Never skied above 19,000 feet.
Yeah?
Skied at 21,000 today.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of us. First time. Above 20,000.
Первый раз скатились.
Our schedule right now is to take a leisurely day to Camp 1, brew up, sleep as well as we can, and make a carry to Camp 2. And just play it day by day, see how we feel. And then take 2 or 3 days off at ABC, get some good food, and go for it from there.
Our approach to climbing these mountains has always been to be self-sufficient. We don't try and rely on oxygen or porters, other people that will help us try and get up with the mountain. We just feel that we need to do it on our own, and we'll get as far as we can. And if we can't do it on our own, then we'll back off.
Easy there.
It makes it a lot more difficult that way, but it's a lot more satisfying.
Hey.
I like the switchbacks, eh, Jim?
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
Good.
Yeah, easy 8,000 or my ass.
You can't describe the feeling you get when you're standing at the foot of an 8,000 meter peak. It's pretty overwhelming, but gradually, as you touch the mountain and you begin to work the mountain, you learn what the mountain has to offer, and you learn what you're going to be able to get away with and what you're not going to be able to get away with, and everything slowly comes together until you eventually finally either get up the thing or you don't get up the thing.
The two groups would work in unison to better achieve their goals. While the Americans traveled up and stocked camps, the Kazakhs would rest, and vice versa. This would assure that one team was always on the mountain, and the establishing and stocking of the higher camps was executed efficiently. The arduous slogs up and down began to wear on the climbers. Not only is the work physically draining, but constant exposure to sun and wind takes its toll on the team members as well.
Our style for climbing this peak was using a tried and true method of moving high and sleeping low, which aids in the acclimatization process. We ended up putting in 2 high camps, and that whole process took approximately 2 to 3 weeks of slogging up and down, back and forth, moving gear from one spot to the next.
After establishing the higher camps, the climbers returned to advanced base camp for much-needed rest and nutrition. By raising their own funds for the expedition, they supply themselves with only basic necessities such as a kitchen staff.
When you're preparing for a summit bid, it's important that you eat well and hydrate well. We lucked out. Our cook, Kalu, is a chef by trade when he's not out on the trail, and we had some very good meals.
3 weeks into the expedition, the climbers begin to feel the effects of being away too long from home and loved ones.
Climbing in the big mountains with a family at home, there's always that something in the back of your mind where you don't want to push it too hard because you know there's something more important back home. But then you also have to weigh that against what you're trying to accomplish. And I just feel like I'd be letting myself down if I didn't try it.
Hi, Daddy, I love you. Looking at the top of Shishapangma.
A neighboring expedition kindly offers its satellite phone for a comforting call home.
Hello, Mom. Mom, this is Steve. I'm doing great. Everybody's doing great. Everybody's doing great. We're resting right now after setting up those 3 camps, and in a day or 2, weather permitting, we're going to go for our first summit attempt.
A meeting is held to determine everyone's status as the reality of making a summit push looms before them.
It's a chest cold, chest and neck cold.
Yes.
And Vadim?
He says he go up after 3-4 days minimum. Okay. About me, I don't know.
Andrey and Vadim are not going to depot camp tomorrow. Well, the only other option would be if you two are not healthy enough to go tomorrow, is to have Max go with us to Camp 1. And just tie on to a 4-man rope team. And then that actually simplifies things. Max, Mike, Jimmy, and I will just travel to Camp 1, Camp 2, summit,
together.
Back down together.
Together.
Yeah, together.
All together.
Yes. All together.
Yes. 4-man team.
No problem. No problem, yes. I feel very good.
I feel very good.
Brings new meaning to the Cold War, doesn't it?
Cold beer.
With the summit team established, their fate now lies in the weather holding out for a few more days. They hope to reach the top before the arrival of the monsoon.
It was very difficult to set off for the summit, leaving Andrey and Vadim. They have become such good friends over the past couple of years, and to not have them with us, it was just very difficult saying goodbye.
The teams have come a long way since their initial conversations of reaching the summit of an 8,000-meter peak 1 year ago. Vadim and Andrey now turn to Max in carrying the hopes and dreams of a Kazakh reaching the summit of Shishapangma.
After 3 weeks on the mountain having good weather, things deteriorated down low.
That much sun tends to melt the snow and turn good solid roots into running rivers.
The climbers rope up as crevasses begin to reveal themselves. Their skis become less efficient as skins that enable them to climb up begin to weigh down with the heavy wet snow.
Even though we have to adjust our route to put up with the changing conditions, it's a heck of a lot better than the alternative of trying to fight a blizzard or being constantly stuck in your tent.
Although they will need to readjust their style, the three Americans on skis welcome the strength and determination of young Max, who will climb with them as they head for the summit. At 23, Max was the youngest member of the group.
Max's goal on this trip was to get to the summit, and he knew that if he got to the summit, he'd be the youngest Kazakh ever to summit an 8,000 meter peak. So it was very, very important. He had worked very hard, and we wanted to do whatever we could to help him attain that goal.
Max showed remarkable strength, forging ahead on foot while the others traveled by ski. In the morning, final preparations are made to meet the challenge of the upper mountain.
Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to position ourselves as best we can to for our first summit bid. If weather did move in tonight, we'd probably move a camp up to 3. You can move very safely from 2 to 3, unless we get huge accumulation. So if the weather did move in, we'd move a camp to 3, wait as long as we could. We've got plenty of food and supplies up there.
Having the skis long ended up being a real asset. I mean, we encountered a lot of deep snow, and by the time we got acclimated, we were actually moving in between camps in 3 hours, and that was taking some groups as long as 6 hours.
The team ventures out towards Camp 2. It is here that they are all alone on the mountain. Unlike the gridlock that plagues the more popular 8,000 meter peaks, the 4 climbers are truly alone. They face it on their own terms, with no one to blame or rely on but themselves.
The weather's just beautiful, and we're fortunate enough to find ourselves on an 8,000 meter peak, and we're the only people on the route. It's a pretty ominous feeling. We've been looking at the upper portion of the route, and it's significantly different than what we've experienced on the lower portion. It's steep, it's got a lot more technical climbing involved, and it's exciting to be here right at the base of it. The anxiety of getting ready for our final summit push was weighing heavily on all of our minds.
Having some ramen right now, and might have some split pea soup, or we might have some freeze-dried food.
Tomorrow, they would reach out and touch the North Ridge for the first time.
Good night.
For the first time, the team encounters less than ideal weather conditions. The mountain begins to respond to the notion of allowing climbers to reach its summit.
Here we are at camp, high camp, and we're on our summit push. We were expecting to get up and get going and make a kind of a soup camp at about 25,000, and then at about 2 a.m. After brewing up, head to the summit, but it's kind of gotten nasty on us for really only the second time this whole trip. So we're kind of tent bound right now.
tent-bound and restless, Jim occasionally ventures out and scouts the weather. The persistent winds prevent the team from advancing and establishing a higher Camp 3. With the approach of the full moon, the team fears its string of good weather luck is nearing its end and decide to make their summit bid from Camp 2.
Everyone's a little crabby because we're up at midnight getting ready to go, but we got a beautiful day. And we're going to bag an 8,000 meter peak today.
Ready to rock and roll. Let's do it.
Summit day started out, beautiful starry night. 1 in the morning we took off and proceeded up the mountain.
The first part of the summit day from Camp 2 is just a long, flat ski to the base of this head wall.
I feel physically good. I don't like the weather very much. Well, it's just wait and see.
No, I'm not going to take my skis up. It's more important that I reach the summit. And I don't know, I think if I take skis up, I'll be too fagged out. So, I'm leaving them here.
We got to the base of the head wall, and that's really where the interesting part of the climb starts. You break out onto 40 to 50 degree slopes up through mixed rock and ice.
A.m. We're at approximately 25,000 feet.
The climbers pass the location of Camp 3. Choosing to make their bid from Camp 2, they have come halfway in their summit day push of over 4,000 feet. The slog of the mountain's lower slopes is now behind them. The skis, up until now an efficient means of travel, become a burden as they are strapped to the backs of the climbers.
You're climbing at these altitudes and it's just physically draining. You're just so tempted to stop and rest about every other step, but you know that time is just not on your side. You have to get to the top and you have to get off that mountain, and you literally have to concentrate to put one foot in front of the other and just keep on going. Progress is slow, but you just have to continue going, have to continue moving forward.
The climbers get their first view of the entire Langtang range of the Himalayas from their position on the North Ridge.
There are two sections of fairly technical climbing.
The rock sections were 50, 60 degree slopes of mixed rock and ice, and we're moving at a step approximately every 3 breaths, so it was pretty draining.
Steve and Jim. We're over 25, 26 now. Awful.
The two goals of summiting and skiing from the top now prove to torment the minds of Steve and Mike. They question whether being the first to ski from the top will jeopardize their primary goal of summiting.
Steve, Marolt.
at about 7,700 meters. He and I both still have skis. He's not using the fixed line, but I am. This is a bitch. You can see the weather has set in. Figure we're about an hour and a half from the top, over and out.
When you have foul weather come in, it's stressful, it's cold, it zaps your energy. It can totally deplete you if you don't maintain control.
As the weather begins to deteriorate, the team members at Advanced Base Camp become anxious about their friends on the mountain.
How are you? How are you? Over.
Well, we just want to get up and get down as fast as possible.
How are you? How are you? And another members. Over.
Everybody is doing well.
How many? What do you think? How many hours to summit? Over.
Possible to tell. Probably under an hour.
I understand 1 hour to summit. Over.
For now, I gotta go.
Be careful, be careful. We wait. Over.
Increasingly bad weather causes some tense moments on the mountain.
Well, he got in the wrong gully and then lost the crampon. And it was all ice. So, yeah, it was not a pretty sight. I guess we're just below the summit, so I was just gonna leave my pack here. Yeah, I was just gonna leave my pack here and go for it.
Despite the near whiteout conditions, the team decides to push on. They rely on the mountain's north ridge as a guide to prevent them from venturing off course. They concur that only the piercing jet stream winds will deter them from pressing on. Mike stops for a moment to document his twin brother Steve's last steps to the summit cone of Shishapangma. The dream they have shared together since their youth was about to be realized.
I never dreamed that we would actually carry skis to the summit of this peak. It was a tool, and the fact that we actually accomplished it is pretty unbelievable.
It's just unbelievable to be standing on top of that peak with my twin brother and skis.
With little space on the summit, Mike watches as Steve puts his skis on to become the first North American to ski from the summit of an 8,000-meter peak. Two brothers, twins, CPAs from a small town far away, had set it in their mind to achieve this goal that so many had mocked. Only later would their amazing achievement be recognized and celebrated. There were no website correspondents reporting from base camp, no media fanfare waiting back in Kathmandu. They had reached their goal not with the world watching, but only in the company of friends. The next day, the mountain rewarded the climbers by dismissing the clouds and basking them in sunshine.
Hey, ever for me, man. It was awesome. Everybody made it, Max. Good job. Yeah. Congratulations, man.
They continued their descent, savoring each turn they had earned.
Run your hands! Hey, how's it going?
Good. Crazy American night.
Well, we did it. We did it. We did it, finally. Very, very happy. Very happy. Very happy.
Very tired, very happy.
Yes, yes. It's a good turn. It's a very good turn. Hey?
This was a total team effort, and without each of the individuals participating in it, I just don't see that it would have happened. Everybody pulled their weight, and when all of that comes together, you can do some pretty incredible things.
Here comes Maxie, youngest Kazakh. Summit an 8,000 meter peak, you gotta love that, huh? Right
on, man. Right on, dude.